Molly Weasley is introduced as the woman who sends Harry a Christmas sweater. She ends the story by killing Bellatrix Lestrange. The question is not whether Molly can fight. The books answer that clearly. The question is, what had to happen inside an ordinary mother before violence became the only language left to her? To see it, go back to the Burrow, the Weasley home in Devon, where Molly manages a family so large that the house itself seems to be losing the argument. There are children everywhere. Ron's bedroom is crowded with hand-me-downs. Ginny is the only girl among 6 brothers. Fred and George turn daily life into a practical joke. Arthur brings home curiosity, clutter, and not nearly enough money. Molly's power begins here, not on a battlefield, but in the work of keeping this fragile arrangement alive. She cooks, she cleans, she sends letters. She knows who is missing from the table, which child needs new robes, and which danger has followed them home. Her magic is domestic, because the threat facing the family is domestic too. Voldemort's war does not only arrive through armies and duels. It enters bedrooms, school corridors, blood status arguments, and the question of whether a child can safely leave the house. That is why Molly's first weapon is control. When Harry arrives at the Burrow, Molly does not treat him like a famous hero. She treats him like a neglected boy who needs feeding. In the summer before his 2nd year, she sends a howler to the twins after they steal Arthur's enchanted car. Not because the car is expensive, but because their recklessness could have killed them. Her anger is frightening precisely because Her anger is frightening precisely because it is practical. She is not defending an abstract rule. She is defending bodies, and the family she protects keeps expanding. Harry becomes an honorary son. Hermione becomes part of the household. The Order of the Phoenix uses the Burrow as a headquarters, which means Molly's private domestic space becomes a wartime command center. She is now protecting not only her own children, but a network of people who may bring danger to her doorstep at any moment. In the 5th book, she fights a boggart in the kitchen. A boggart takes the shape of whatever most terrifies the person facing it. For Molly, the creature becomes the dead bodies of her family, one after another. The scene is often remembered as evidence that she is anxious. It is more revealing than that. Molly's deepest fear is not pain, it is failure. She is surrounded by children who are old enough to fight, brave enough to volunteer, and reckless enough to believe bravery is protection. She cannot place a shield over every doorway. She cannot make the war stop, so she does what she can. She tries to keep everyone close, fed and alive long enough to become adults. But that strategy begins to break apart when her children stop needing permission. Fred and George leave Hogwarts after Dolores Umbridge tries to crush student resistance. They turn rebellion into a business, opening Weasley's Wizard Wheezes in Diagon Alley. Molly is horrified by the risk, yet the twins' inventions later become weapons against Death Eaters, and their joke shop becomes one of the few openly joyful places in a country under authoritarian rule. Molly's protective instinct cannot distinguish cleanly between danger and freedom. To her, both look like a child walking away from the house. That conflict becomes sharper with Ginny. Molly tries to protect her daughter from the war, from possession, from the dangers surrounding Harry, and from the simple fact that Ginny is growing into someone who can choose danger for herself. Ginny joins Dumbledore's army. She fights in the Department of Mysteries. She returns to Hogwarts in the resistance against Voldemort. Molly's children are not waiting to be rescued. They are becoming people who enter the fire. And then the war reaches its final night. On the 2nd of May, 1998, the Battle of Hogwarts tears through the castle. The defenders fight across courtyards, corridors, and the Great Hall. Molly has already lost one son. Percy has returned to the family after breaking with the Ministry, and the battle is collapsing around them. Inside the Great Hall, Bellatrix Lestrange attacks Ginny Weasley. The two women are not equals in experience. Bellatrix is a fanatical Death Eater who has escaped Azkaban and helped torture Neville Longbottom's parents into permanent insanity. Ginny is a 16-year-old student, talented and brave, but still Molly's child. Molly steps between them. Her famous line is not a threat about power, it is a boundary. "Not my daughter, you bitch." Then the duel begins. Bellatrix has spent years practicing cruelty. Molly is a mother who has spent years keeping a household functioning while the world outside became monstrous. The fight looks like a sudden transformation, but the story has been preparing for it from the beginning. Molly knows how to act under pressure. She knows what must be protected, and when the threat finally becomes immediate, her fear does not freeze her. It gives her a target. The spell that kills Bellatrix strikes her in the chest. Rowling does not describe Molly celebrating. There is no triumphal speech, no enjoyment of revenge. The violence is abrupt, final, and horrifying. Molly does not become a warrior because she discovers that killing is secretly who she was. She becomes violent because the person in front of her has crossed the one line she has spent the entire series defending, her daughter. This is the reversal at the center of Molly Weasley. She is not peaceful in the way the story first encourages us to assume. She is restrained. Those are different things. A peaceful person rejects violence as a principle. A restrained person may use it, but keeps it behind a locked door until the cost of leaving it there becomes greater than the cost of opening it. Molly's home, her recipes, her knitting, and her scolding are not proof that she exists outside the war. They are the infrastructure of her resistance to it. The Burrow is a shelter, but it is not a sealed one. It survives because people keep defending it, sometimes with charms, sometimes with rules, and sometimes by joining the Order of the Phoenix. Molly's labor creates the emotional place where Harry can belong, where injured fighters can return, and where children can imagine a future that Voldemort wants to erase. That future is exactly what Bellatrix threatens when she attacks Ginny. If Molly had stayed out of the fight, the result might have been different. The text does not give us a tactical explanation for her victory, and it would be wrong to pretend it does. But it does show the decision clearly. Molly sees the danger, abandons the role of observer, and chooses to meet it herself. The hidden violence is not the duel alone. It is everything that makes the duel possible. The years of vigilance, the anger at careless risk, the willingness to shelter other people's children, and the acceptance that protection sometimes means becoming the most dangerous person in the room. That is why Molly's victory lands harder than a simple heroic moment. Bellatrix believes strength means domination. She uses violence to prove that other people are beneath her. Molly uses violence only when the distance between herself and her child has been invaded. One woman wants power over a family. The other is willing to destroy herself to keep a family from being destroyed. Molly begins the story measuring safety in ordinary things: a full table, a warm room, a letter answered on time. She ends it standing in the Great Hall with a dead enemy at her feet because ordinary safety has become impossible. So what happened inside the mother who sent Harry a sweater? Nothing changed her into a killer overnight. The war simply forced everyone to reveal what their love was prepared to cost. For Molly Weasley, the answer was terrifyingly clear. She would feed a family, shelter it, argue with it, and worry over it. And if someone tried to take one of her children, she would cross the line herself.